But now we want to come back. We want to look particularly at Europe at the moment. You see, Russia's got to control Europe, doesn't it? That's what the image tells us it must do. Russia has plans for Europe right now, and they seem to be indicated to us by various events. Now, we'll look at these in detail in a minute. The Baltic states, like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, coming under its control. Hinted at in 2016. We'll see why in a minute. Poland, occupied through Belarus, hinted at in 2017. Sweden and Norway, 2018. A threat to cut off all Europe's oil supplies, 2018. A fear of attack into Ukraine, 2019. Well, let's take that first one, the Baltic state. Here they are, those are there. They once were under Russian control, but when the Iron Curtain came down, most of the Russians didn't go back to bankrupt Russia, they stayed there. So 25%, 27%, 6% of their population are Russians. Russia has already said to them, any of the younger ones, 18 to 38 I think it was, can be considered to be part of our army, insurrectionists. And when we occupy, we will pay you afterwards. Consider yourself part of the army now. As well as that, they marshalled on the borders of the area of Estonia, Latvia. Seems very faint there. I hope you can see it. But there is the titles. My screen, it's very clear. There is at least 10,000 troops on the borders of that area back there in 2016, and it's considered that they are still there. The leader of Estonia approached the Western world and said, we're being threatened. Can you not help? America said, yes, we'll land planes within your territory with weapons on board and men on board within 48 hours. And he said, these men will control my capital city in 4 hours. 4 hours. And so the leader of the Baltic, leader of NATO, said at that time that that territory could be occupied in less than 60 hours. Could all fall. Could all be over. And so the Western forces moved troops into the area of Estonia. Oh, first of all, the area of Latvia produced this book here, or Lithuania, a survival guide for the people. What did it tell everybody? Go out in your garden, dig a hole, a big hole, make it into a room, and fill it with food, enough for a year. And if you need medicine, 2 years medicine. Because when Russia takes over, you're going to need it. And then bury it. They are concerned, very concerned. And they're asking everybody to be prepared, to prepare for a full-out invasion by Russian troops in that area. They can see the soldiers on the borders. And so, the Western forces did act. Oh yes, very handsomely. They moved 120 troops there and another 300. Not going to do much against the 10,000 alone against facing Estonia. So we can see Russia is preparing. Hasn't done anything yet, but the troops are there, ready to act. Here we are, 2016, and they are prepared to act in that area. But let's move on. 2017, World War III threat, says one of the London papers. Russian troops won't leave after war games on Europe's border. Every so many years, Russia has a manoeuvre on the borders of Europe. They're allowed to. This time they said we'll bring, I think it was 1,300 troops into this area here. 13,000 troops into that area. What happened was the Economist sent an observer across there and watched the trains going through with the troops on board, and they came back saying at least 100,000 have gone in. Oh, but Russia said we'll bring them back out after the manoeuvre of 1 or 2 weeks. Yes, they saw them going back out. But every train going back out also carried troops going back in. They just gave those who'd been on the manoeuvres a holiday and gave another lot of troops to come back in. And they believe now there's at least 100,000 troops there in Belarus facing Poland. At the same time, they brought up into the area of Kaliningrad, north of there. Maybe come back for a second. There's Kaliningrad. Off there, they brought into there 70 naval vessels. It's been reduced a little since then, but not much. Those naval vessels are sitting up there north of the area of, against Kaliningrad, near Poland. Huge numbers of naval vessels. And so, what does Lithuania say? Looking at what's now to the south and to their east, the leader of Lithuania says Russia is a threat to all of Europe. We're not the only ones. You should be worried. You should be worried. And so she spoke of the fact that there would be, in an interview in Vilnius this week, she spelled out the reason that US troops should be stationed on Lithuanian soil. They aren't. To prevent a Russian attack. They'd need a lot, wouldn't they? And so the situation's there. So Russia, America did something. Oh yes, they brought in 1,100 troops. Facing the 100,000 in the area of Belarus, at least 100,000. The aim is to deter what is said to be a possible Russian aggression. So let's come back to our map. There we were, 2016. There's the soldiers. Now, 2017, they're in that area. But last year, Russia did one of the largest military manoeuvres ever seen. They manoeuvred with China's assistance, many Chinese soldiers involved, 300,000 troops. They said it was, the paper said it was nearly triple what Britain could marshal together. Incredible. Where was it done? Up in the Arctic regions. Now, you've got to remember this map is laid out in a square. This area here is very close to this area here because, remember, it's the North Pole. You'll see why. So these manoeuvres were taking place there. The largest manoeuvre in 36 years. All right? Boggling number of troops, tanks and such like were employed. And these people got worried. Very worried. Here we are, up near the Arctic region. And into that area, Russia build-up worries Norway. Two good reasons. We'll see why in a second. First of all, there's Russia bordering Norway at the very top. And into that area, Russian troops were seen manoeuvring. It worried them greatly. And so what took place was firstly this. Sweden acted. Sweden's not part of NATO, it doesn't matter though. They called up, along with their standing army, 20,000, 22,000 people out of jobs, standing to defend their borders. And so into that area they were worried. They thought Russia would come into Sweden. But the Western world didn't think that was the aim of Russia. This is what they thought it would be. They thought it would be Norway. We'll see why in a minute. Norway. So Britain instantly shunted up 800 troops. And NATO then put 50,000 of their 53,000 troops up there for just a short time. 50 of their 53 standing troops. They've got bigger army than that. But they were soldiers on standby. And they put 50,000 for a moment up into here. Why? What was going on? Well, you see, here we are now. Here's the third confrontation. The third threat to that area.